Hi, this is Mama Gina, and I am continuing these kind of informal chats with some of the most creative people I know, and I'm really excited because I've got Dru Ann Welch here in the Zoom room with me, and she is gosh, she does so much. She's an author, she's an artist, she's a musician, and she's a healer. And somehow all of that gets wrapped up in almost every project that she does. And so, Dru Ann, welcome and tell folks about you and what you do.
Hi, I'm so
Hi.
excited to be here in the Zoom room with you, Gina. This is awesome. Um, I've known you for so many years, and I just love creating with you and doing things. So this is awesome. I, um, I it's funny because I used to introduce myself as a Jill of all trades, and I kind of am. I did get my book on sound healing came out this past year. So I am very focused now on sound and color healing. Don't know if you see all the colors behind me, and
I do. It's fabulous.
I've got the office set up because I do so much, and I am very much a sound and color healer and musician with that. All of my new tracks are basically sound healing and using frequencies and getting into frequency work. So it's really exciting. So I've got my little office set up here with LED lights that I can change the color. So if
I
I wanted,
love this.
so if I wanted to, I can take I can turn. Hold on. So I turn off that side color there, and I can take this color behind me.
Oh, look at you. You know, when I was a kid, we had those color wheels on the aluminum foil Christmas tree. And that's kind of what that reminds me of, except we only had four colors and it just rotated.
Yeah. So
How totally awesome is
I
that?
could, so I can change the color for whatever mood. So if I'm looking for creative, this is sort of a yellow, and yellow is a good color to help with creativity and to stimulate it. If I'm feeling very spiritual, I go sort of more purple.
Woo.
And then today's color was pink. So
I I love it. That is so spectacular. You do have lovely space there, indeed.
it's so much fun, and it's fun to be able to create in it. And with all the meetings and things like that, it's really nice because I can make it a color that works for me. Someone said, "Oh, your room's such a pretty purple." I said, "No, I can make it blue. Hold on."
That's great. That's great. So, my curiosity about my own creative process has extended into everybody else's. And so the reason I called you here today was because I want to learn a little bit about your creative process. What inspires you? What makes you do the thing that whatever it is that you do?
Oh gosh. Well, when I started writing in
Hmm.
2014, my first book came out, and it was one of those things. Someone said, "Oh, well, you should do a book on," and I went, "Oh, that's cool." And I literally went, "That would be a really cool thing to do." So I sat down in front of my computer here, and I just started typing out whatever came in my head.
Nice.
And then I sort of went, "Well, I could do that," and I've actually written a book in 7 days from beginning to end. Now my books are short; they're like 40 to 60 pages. They're
Hmm.
really quick reads, which someone else told me they love because they're really short, quick reads, and you don't have to spend 7 days on it reading it.
And they're to the point. I mean, you get to the heart of the matter, whatever it is. You don't waste a lot of time with a whole bunch of analysis. I mean, I've read your books, and they're like, here's the problem, here's how you fix it,
Yeah,
without a whole lot of fluff. And I love that direct approach. I mean, if you don't need all those pages, you don't need all those pages. I kind of love it.
yeah. I mean, I look at these 200-page books and I go, well, wow, y'all are saying the same thing over and over again. Let's just say it and get it done. And so my creative process involves sort of just saying it and getting it done. I go back, I read it for when I do that. And for like the music tracks that I've been creating that I really love, because what I've done is I've created a pendulum board, for lack of better terms,
Mm-hmm.
that I can find what frequency I need or what frequency would go well with something. I can use a pendulum to find the frequency. I've got a program that creates the frequency, one on my phone, one on a tablet. I've got Audacity here that I use. And I go, okay, now what do I want to put around it? Maybe I'll put this recording of this bowl. Or I went in one day and I got out my, I had a little tank drum and I had a ocean drum,
Yeah.
big ocean drum. And I started playing with the ocean drum and just made recordings and put it over the frequencies. And I was like, this is so awesome. I like the way this feels. Well, if I like the way it feels, maybe someone else will like the way it feels. Okay. And that's like, I
That
don't
is
know.
so wonderful.
I don't know if it's a creative process, but it's like, wow, today I really want to play with my ocean drum. Gee, it sounds good. Let's add this and this and this. And oh, well, we'll just put that together and throw it out there and see if someone enjoys it.
And they do. You know, it's funny because I had one question written down to ask you. Everything else is like whatever happens in this conversation. But your creativity is so lighthearted. It's so open. I mean, it's almost like I don't think you have any resistance to it.
Yes.
Right?
That sounds cool. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, it's almost like, gosh, I want to do this today. Okay, well, let's go do it. All right, that was fun.
Yeah, yeah. And that brings me to the question that I wanted to ask you. So, most of the creative people that I know, artists, musicians, writers, whatever it happens to be, whatever medium it is, it could be, making mixed media jewelry. I mean, most of the creators that I know are creating out of a need to heal something that's broken in themselves. And you always seem so deliriously happy to me. I don't even think you have that space in you. And I could be wrong, but it seems and honestly, I I sometimes worry that if I get too happy, I'll forget to create. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but it's like if I get too happy, I'm busy doing other things other than making music all of a sudden. It's like there's got to be that little friction inside of me that goes, there's this thing that you need to work on, and so we're going to write about it until we figure it out and heal it. And I've known you for years, Dru Ann, and you are an uplifting person.
Thank
And
you.
and it just how the hell do you do this? How
How
do you how do you create out of this space of joy consistently? Because I think if I were happy, I'd be like doing something else maybe.
this makes me happy.
Cool.
And and the thing is, when it's so funny because I had this texting conversation with my daughter earlier, where I used to work in accounting, and I worked for 3 years before I kind of went on the road. I worked for an 80-year-old forensic accountant,
Mhm.
which was interesting and stressful.
Yes.
And out of that, I was like, there was no room for the creative process. It was all about, oh my God, I have to go to work today. Oh, I have to go do this. Oh, I have to do this. And when I started, and then I'd hit the weekend where we'd go away, and I'd be like, woohoo, I can have fun now. I can be me. I don't have to be this other person. And the more I started doing that, the more I really enjoyed what I could do when I didn't have to be the employee.
Got you.
And so my joy comes out of going and teaching people all of these things in my head. My A lot of people don't know I have a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. So all I've ever wanted to do in my life is teach and work with people. And now I get to go to festivals and I get to sit down and have workshops and just talk to people and have them ask me questions. And so it's this teaching process that's really a healing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, someone said, oh, we've got a job for you 25 hours a week. We think you might be good at. And I'm like, that's nice,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's not me anymore.
Right.
And so this whole, how can you be so happy and do this if I'm not doing this? That's when I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I want to be able to get up and grab my drum and think and just enjoy my life.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm the happiest I've been in my life. The last 10 years of walking away from corporate. And I've always been a musician. I've always sung on stage. I mean, since I was little, and I've always written. And but the last 10 years of not being tethered is the happiest that I've ever been. Hey, mommy.
This is Mimi. He's
Yeah.
decided he likes to join the meeting, so he's in here pushing my chair around. So, but yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, because it's like we have this in us and we work and we're, our brains are sort of programmed to go to work, go to work, go to work every day. And no, you're not going to like work, because work is work. It's that 4-letter word, and you're going to go do it. And I think when we step out of that framework, of that total corporate mindset that we're all in, everyone's in it.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from it. Even when
And
you're doing this.
yes,
It's like
yes.
all of a sudden I find myself focused on the money side of it. And it's not that
Mm-hmm.
that's not important, but it's an exchange of energy. It's not really about the dollar bills building up. It's
Yeah.
more about the energy exchange. I tell people I'm very fortunate that I get to make a life and a living doing what I love,
Oh,
you
I
know?
love that.
So
Can we get t-shirts with that?
but you know what I'm saying. I mean,
Yes.
to be able to have the freedom to wake up every single day and know that I have made these choices, and not necessarily in tandem with somebody that I'm serving in a corporate kind of way. It's and I was fine with the jobs that I had in corporate because it helped me raise my son and make sure there was a roof over our heads and everything else. But nowadays, I'm not so much worried about that stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I know a part of me knows I should be doing this, I should be on this every day, figuring out how to make money, how to make my living doing this. And I'm like, you know what? I figured out how to do this so that I can pay my bills.
Yeah.
And so my concept is, as long as I can pay my bills, and this is probably the weirdest creative process in the world, as long as I can pay my bills, I can keep doing this.
Yeah.
And when I can no longer pay my bills, then I'll have to figure out how to supplement this.
But you're also honing your craft, and that just makes you do it better down the line and more opportunities to do this and
Yes,
still be able to pay the bills.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So, I think when you do a creative process, or when you finally go, this is sort of the niche I want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
If that's where you want to be, you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, the past year should have taught everyone that if you're not happy, if you're not doing something that can make you happy, why are you doing it? And that's
Indeed.
that's the question that came to me. And I know I talked to you when I had this concept that came up of, I want to write a book about love, just
Mm-hmm.
love being the most important thing, why it's love, and getting out of our heads and thinking with our hearts. And you were like, whoa. What a great, because we had this conversation. And
Yes.
I'm that person who goes, Gina, I have this idea. What do you think? and,
And you always have great ideas.
and so you went, and then I talked to someone else who was like, oh my God, I wish I could remember to do that. And I went, well, I guess there's a need for this. I'll just write the book. So I sat down and I wrote the book and I put it through. Being a self-published person, I don't depend on other people to do a lot of things. And it was really fun because my daughter-in-law asked me about it and I gave it to her. And it was the first one of my books she ever read. And she was like, this is so cool. I love this. And it really started this conversation between she and I of how do you do this? So that when I got to my sound healing book, I went to her and I said, I like your thought process because she is an incredibly creative, artistic person. And I said, I really like your thought process. Would you be my second editor on my book?
Nice.
And she said yes.
Hmm.
And so she was my second editor on my book. And I'm going to do that from now on because she sees things that I don't see that my other editor doesn't see. And we're all friends, it's nice. So that really made me think about the creative process too, is coming out and how do I want someone to learn from it and seeing someone really learn from it for the first time to where she knew nothing about sound healing. And now we've had a sound healing session.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she was super interested in it and the work we did actually helped her heal an issue she was having with her neck and it
Oh.
worked. And she was like, this is the coolest thing, Mom. So it makes me realize that my joy of sharing really does help people grow and share as well. So it's that connection and we got to have
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, most definitely. I hear you. You talked about bringing her into your process, that editing part of the process, and I am I have no trouble killing my children when it comes to my creative stuff. I'm a firm believer that most of what I would create is going to be crap, and I thin the herd pretty quickly. And editing, that's part of the editing process is going, those 500 words that I just wrote, yep, none of that is going to work, out it goes. Or that whole song that I just spent 3 weeks agonizing over, yep, nope, doesn't move me, it's not going to move anybody else, out of here, kind of thing. um I have a hard time trusting other people with that editing process. um and I'm sure it helps to have somebody that you really, really know and trust. Creatives are fiercely independent people. We want to do it all ourselves. We were
Right.
just having this conversation before we had this
We were.
conversation
We were.
about me, wanting to do my whole mixing and mastering process for my new CD all by myself, except I can't. So instead of hiring somebody to do it, I'm hiring somebody to teach me how to do it.
Right.
I trust them to teach me, but I still don't want it's not that I don't trust other people to do the work. I don't want to have to trust other people to do the
Right.
work. I think that scares me more than anything else.
And well, and the thing is, like when you're writing a book, no matter how many times you've read your work,
Oh, yeah.
there's always that thing or those 10 things, or you'll have, you wrote it and you read it, so it made sense to you. And then you publish it and someone comes up to you and goes, what exactly were you thinking? And you kind of go, oh, you didn't get
Right.
that?
Right.
And my editor is my friend, my primary editor since I went into this is my friend Bobby. I've known her for years. We actually found out, talk about creative people re-meeting each other. A very short story of it is we were sitting one day, I worked for her in Casadega, and we were sitting there and we started talking about where we came from as children and realized that we were both from the same very, very small town, Fairport, New York.
Wow.
Where it got weird, Gina, where it got real weird was we both went to the same very small Catholic school
Oh my goodness.
at the same time.
Are you serious?
Seriously, when I was in first grade and she was in third grade, um, she remembered my mom because my mom had set up the library there, and she remembered my mom. Your mom is Mr. I mean, it was like, holy, it was like one of those things. And I went, your dad was the guy in the church on Sunday morning. She was like, yeah, where did y'all sit? And I was like, well, we sat here. And it was like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
We actually knew each other when we were like first and third grade. And here we were as adults in this tiny town in Casadega. You know how spirit brings you together?
Right, right.
Working together. And so it's not real hard for me to pass something to her.
I hear you. That's awesome.
But yeah, so and we're friends now. It's kind of a cool story of how I found my editor.
Well, I was in first grade.
First grade, and she and I didn't physically know each other when we were little.
Right.
But she knew my mom. I recognized her dad from
That is something else. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Oh my
So,
gosh.
and I think that's part of the creative process is realizing that for me, it's realizing that if I step out of my own way
Mm.
and I just go with it, I literally, I let spirit guide me. I let spirit go, okay, today you're going to go to the ocean and sit and play a drum and take a video and put it there. Well, okay, I guess that's what I'll go do. you know, those are some of the most creative times and things is just letting spirit guide you. And we're all so much in our heads that we stop ourselves from being that organic human component. Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense. It makes so much sense. The times when I can completely disengage from all of the busy stuff that I've made up in my life, right? Because
Right.
it's not, most of it's not real, right? It's not real, or it's not something you can hang your hat on. Um, but the spiritual flow, the creative flow, is something that really never steers me wrong, even when I think it's not the right thing to do. If that makes any
Yes.
sense. Like, I remember when Nine Toes the Bard, that whole thing had started, and it hadn't occurred to me exactly what was going on at that point. I just knew these weird songs were coming through. I really didn't see the connection. It was like nothing I'd ever written before. And I started mulling over the idea that I was going to take all of these songs about this crazy character, this crazy 15th century Welsh bard from another timeline, right? And I was going to do a CD devoted to just that kind of music. And the side of my brain that shoots down all of that stuff said that's a career killer. You really shouldn't do that. To do something that outside of what it is that you do. You're a singer songwriter. You're in this community, this really spiritual community. You start doing stuff like this, and it's just people are not going to know how to take you. And I was doing everything I could to talk myself out of doing that project, right?
Wow.
And then, of course, then I lost a toe on this body and realized that I was Nine Toes the Bard, and that it was more than just crazy stories coming through. There was something really happening there. And that CD, I mean, I sell those things like crazy. That music is the music that people want to hear, right?
It's
Even
it,
when I'm ready to
it's a
move on.
yeah, it's a part of who you were meant to be, though. I think stepping into it, and not you know thank the gods you didn't talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, well, I don't
because
think
it's
I had a choice.
amazing.
Yeah, I don't think I had a choice. But it's, if I can quiet down, and a lot of times it's in the woods, right? It's in the woods when the only thing that matters is just being, not doing, just simply existing in each moment, and waiting, and open to receiving whatever comes through. And that's when the real heart of whatever it is that I'm ready to create is coming through. And it's so much easier to listen in that environment and to be open to it. Because as soon as you get in front of the computer screens and all of that, the self doubt and the worry, for me at least, that's when all of that starts floating in. When I'm in the middle of writing a song, that nothing else exists.
I have watched you. Nothing else does exist. You're
it
amazing. I mean,
it
it's
all
like,
goes away. The only thing that's true and real is the communication with that creative flow in that moment. Nothing else exists. So yeah,
this is phenomenal.
it's and it's usually in the woods. So that's
Yeah.
been hard this year for me.
Yes, yes, there have been no woods. It's been hard. I will share this with you because it did come into my mind, and usually if I don't share what's there, usually if something comes in my mind, it's something I'm supposed to say for one reason or another. Um, in 2016, but at the end of 2016 and early 2017, in early 2017, I lost my mother. It wasn't expected. It was a very strange time. I know you and I had very deep, heartfelt, and thank you for being there for me, conversations. What's funny is that was one of those things that always has nagged at me since then. The loss of my mom was a really big thing. It's one of those only things where you're like, oh, I'm always so up. That's that one thing that has been there in the back of my mind forever.
Yeah.
And it really taught me about doing that shoulda, coulda, woulda, and why. And it I should have done this. Why didn't I do this? Questions. And it was something that I would wake up in the morning thinking about. I wouldn't think about it all day, but I would wake up. It was like I'm waking up thinking this. And not being on the road, not being out there doing things, gave a whole lot more time
Oh,
for that part to come in.
yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But it gave me that time to process. And so stopping and thinking with my heart instead of thinking with my head became super important. Plugging in and remembering to go into my heart space and be there became super important. And it helped process all those shoulda, coulda, wouldas too. So part
Nice.
of this being in the woods, listening to yourself, letting spirit guide is also about letting spirit heal you and letting yourself heal you. And the creative process heals you in that way. Write it down, make the music, take the time, and let the hard things come up and look at them and don't let them define you. Like you were saying, oh, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do this. And we have all these things. And I remember, my mom saying years ago, oh, you've got so much to do. You're so busy. And I started thinking, I'm like, I wasn't really that busy. I don't know why I appeared busy. What appeared that I wasn't able to be there? What was it I was saying or doing? And so I've had a lot of time, like everyone else, to reflect on why does someone see me as being busy or this or that or the other thing? And I don't want that. And so how have I changed that? How has that changed me? What can I do to make a process easier so if someone needs that time to create or talk or be, I don't want them to think, oh, well, she's so busy, I don't want to bother. I don't want that person to be me. Do you know what I'm saying?
I
And so
do.
creating beyond that perception
Right.
is creating your life. Life is a creation, life is a creative process.
Yes.
And every day we create who we are and how people see us and where we're going. So, you know, it's not just about being a creative person, it's about being
Yes.
and creating. And I don't think people look at their lives as creative. I don't.
You know, it's funny. Um, I've had this conversation with friends over the years. You know that 10,000 hour thing. You know, if you spend 10,000 hours on something, you gain a mastery of it. Whether you had a talent to begin with or not. You spend 10,000 hours on something, you know, and that's just a ballpark. I mean, that's just a number, but you know what I'm saying? You pick it
Yeah.
up every day for 10 years
Mhm.
and you gain a mastery of it. And I firmly believe that you are what you said is absolutely true. That life is a creation, every bit of it. And I think that so many of us have become masters of creation of crap because we're not present and we're not paying attention. And when you wake up to the process and start actually choosing what it is that you create and not just letting crap fall around you and not be conscious and present with the process. You know, instead of being on the
Yes.
line that just goes, oh, this looks good, you know, or, oh, this is what somebody handed me. I guess that's what I get. Um, all of a sudden, everything changes and you become a conscious creator of your life. We're all masters of creation because since we've been born we've been living, and you're right, life is a creation.
It is, and it's a creative process, and that presence you're talking about, being present, that's such a huge thing. And what I've enjoyed is watching. I love watching TV. I love watching all of these big TV personalities who've all of a sudden gone, you know, I did this thing and I was present and I meditated and I'm like, yes, they're here. It's happening. It's really happening because the more these people say, well, I found this thing and I can think now. And there, you know, all of the stories and lots and lots and lots of daytime talk show hosts are now going, well, you know, I'm learning to be present. And you can see sort of that shift. And the more, for me, the more society and everything around us sort of does this shift into the flow that we're in,
Mm-hmm.
the more creative our universe gets, the more present we get, and the easier it is to let all of that crap fall away.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
That's it.
that this
Mm-hmm.
year and change, and it's going to be more before things smooth out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say go back to normal because I don't want to go back to what we considered normal as a society. But I've got to tell you, I've seen more creative output from people over this past year because the universe literally gave us a timeout.
Yep.
Literally made us choose, literally made us think about, instead of get up, get the coffee, go to work, come home, do the things, go to bed, get up, get the coffee, go to work, and you don't have time. It's like you run out of time to choose. That thing where people are perceiving you as being busy. We stop making choices. We just keep going with the old choices. And this year, we couldn't make any of those old choices.
Growth.
And I think that some people woke up. I think some people went crazy with it, and I get that. Because, you know, I get that. But I am seeing people open their eyes for the first time. I'm seeing people who knew better reopen their eyes. I'm seeing people engaging in things that they find more fulfilling. And it's such an exciting time to be alive. And
It is.
I don't want to say that COVID was a good thing, but there are a lot of good things that I think can come out of this because people are becoming aware of the choices that they made, and maybe those choices aren't so relevant anymore.
So much personal healing, the opportunity for it. And when we say, okay, so I love that you said, you know, go back to normal. Um, when you really think about those words, that terminology,
Right.
we never go backwards.
No.
We only grow forward. So we're not growing towards what we used to have because you can't grow backwards. Trees don't grow backwards. Um, Flowers don't unbloom. They, okay, well, some do. I can hear Teresa going. There are some. Can't you hear Teresa tell me? Well, there is this flower, but I love it. But yes, a flower doesn't unbloom. It doesn't go backwards. It's there. It's going to pollinate. It's going to grow. It's going to do its thing, and it's going to move forward. Um, I don't like the term new normal either. I like the term grow. We're just going to grow. We're going to figure out where we're going to grow from here. And that is going to be how we exist. Language is so important in the way we think about our language. And it's time, we can all sit and go, well, I really miss. Well, that's nice. It lives on that shelf over there. What's over there on that shelf ahead of you? Right. What's on the shelf that we can't reach yet?
Yeah. It's like moving to a new house.
Yeah.
And, you're packing down the old house and you're making choices about what you want to bring with you and what you don't really need. What have you not used in 12 years that's been sitting in a corner in the basement, molding, and so we have I think a lot of people have an opportunity to really unpack their lives in this new space
that
we've been given.
I love that.
So what are you going to bring into this new space? Are you going to bring the old choices, or are you going to consciously create in the new one? It's just, I'm excited.
How do you want to be? It's exciting, and it's scary. And I get, this is scary. People are scared. You and I've talked about this. It's sort of scary. It's sort of scary when everything you think goes and sort of lands over there, and you go, well, crap, guess I got to pick this up and I'll take that. Like you said, what are you going to take with you, and how are you going to go, and where's it? If you've suddenly found that you like to paint, or all of these businesses, all these people who were like restaurant workers and caterers and people in the hotel business who suddenly went, well, I was making cookies on the side, and now they have this huge at-home cookie making business. I want them to stay in that. I want that to be, gee, I took up painting and sold my paintings, and gosh, I want to see people keep doing that. I don't want to see the world reopen and have everybody go, well, that was fun. Let's go back to work and forget, because when you forget that creative process that allowed you to grow, even if it was just this new silly thing you thought you were doing to make it through, you've got to keep that nurtured. And that's a part of the process as well, is going, I want that, and wanting it enough to keep it and make it grow. You've got to water it. You got to water the seeds and let that flower go forward.
Yeah. It's funny because I was talking about you being so joyful, but the fact is that I think that joy is an indicator of what is healthy and good. But our society says martyrdom is healthy and good. It's all based around how miserable can you be in your job, in your marriage, in your whatever it happens to be, because the more miserable you are, the more pain that it's causing you, the more personal sacrifice that you make for everybody. And I'm not saying that there aren't times when it's important to step back and nurture others, but that's a different kind of sacrifice. That's making sacred, which is what sacrifice originally was intended to be, was to make something sacred. It's not to, be this martyr complex thing. And I think that our attitudes need to shift around that, because joy really is the thing. It's shining over there in the corner. And if you're filling up the whole space with how special you are, or special I am because I'm such a martyr and I do all the things that I do for everybody else, like,
Right? No.
I can't even do that anymore.
Yeah.
Um there was a point. There was a point. I will say there was a point because
Yeah.
my mother had a black belt in guilt foo, and she did pass it on to all of us. And
I
it took
love
me
it.
a while to deprogram from that. But if look at the joy. Look at the what is bringing you joy, because you should have more of that in your life, not less.
Yes. And m- my whole thing is make a list. Get a pen. There's
Yeah.
usually a pen,
Yeah.
usually a pen right here, with
Right?
a piece of paper right there, and write it down. Um, and write it down. Write the whole thing down and go, okay, why can't I be happy? Okay, well, does and when you the thing is when you write it down, it makes all of those things that are in your head that are talking to each other with your ego. They're sitting down, they're having a cup of tea, it's not a good cup of tea, it's bad tea, it's all the bad stuff. And they're having this up there in your head with your ego, and your ego is up there going, this is awesome, I'll have a cigar please, that's amazing, because it's destroying you. um when you take and you put it down on a piece of paper, any of it, I am what today, I am happy, I am sad, maybe maybe you're depressed, why are you depressed, what is in your head that you need to get out so that you
Yes.
can get rid of it
Or process it,
or
because
process it
some
and
types of depression are actually good. I mean,
yes,
there's a reason, the loss of your mom. That grief is real and it should be processed, and it's going to take however the fuck long it takes. I just said that
that's
word. I have been trying so hard not to do
thank you
that.
so much,
Oh,
because
but
I've been so proper too, it's good. Thank
I
you.
know.
But
But you hear
it's
what I
true, however long it takes,
right.
um
And it's letting you know that there really is something wrong, and you shouldn't crush it down and keep going. You should be able to process it. You should have the time and the space that you need to do that. And if you need professional help, that's great. And if you
yes,
need the creative process, you should be allowed to do that. And I don't care if everybody else thinks it's just you finger painting in your living room. It may be exactly what you need to do to process.
right, we are taught to let other people, and we are as a society, I don't know who would disagree with this, we are taught that whatever someone else thinks about you, are we not though? We are
Mm-hmm.
not taught to think, I'm okay with me the way I want. You know what? If I want to sit here and I want to tie knots in a string to get my anxiety out, then I'm going to sit and tie knots in a string. I don't care if you think it's obsessive compulsive. If it's making me happy and helping me to work out what I need to work out, then
Yes.
fuck you, I'm going to do it. There you go. I said it too now. But
I love it.
it's how you have to be. If drawing circles on a piece of paper is what helps you calm your mind and work out the thoughts that are in your head so they don't stay in your head and make you this sad, lonely, crazy, whatever it is person,
Yeah.
who cares what that guy over there thinks?
Right.
That's the problem we've got. We don't, people don't create because they're worried what someone else is going to think about them
Indeed.
and judge them for. Um, and judging yourself, most of us judge ourselves much harsher than anyone will ever judge it.
We do, but the one thing I don't judge myself over is my choice to live the way that I do. I
And
might judge my individual creations, go, "Oh, I should have played this note instead of that note," or maybe I'm really not ready to do this project yet. Maybe I need to work on my craft more. I mean, there are lots of self-judgy things going on in there, but Not a doubt in the world that I made the right choice to walk away from corporate when I did. You know, I
Yeah.
and honestly, my the first part of my life, from 16 until I was 31, I had Jesse at 31. From 16 to 31, I was singing full time.
Wow.
By the time I was 19, I was on the road full time with bands, and 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 I'm not upset with the choices I made to go into corporate to raise my son. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I was happy to do it. And when it was time to go, everything started falling apart around me, and I woke up one day and said, "Whoa, I've been in a dream for the last couple of years." Realized, why am I so unhappy all of a sudden? Oh, because I don't need to be here anymore.
Because this is, you know, how beautiful that you realized that, though.
Yeah, it was but I'd already had experience of having the freedom of being able to create, and understanding that the day-to-day job kind of thing that most people do agree to, and I
Mm-hmm.
completely understand why they do it, because not everybody wants to live like I do. No health insurance.
No health
No health
insurance.
insurance, right? Which is a big deal. But you know what? There wasn't health insurance like this in the 70s. I was a kid in the 70s. I was in, grade school, high school in the 70s. There wasn't anything like this. This is a new construct, right?
Yes.
That has messed with everybody going,
With
you must have
you
health
must have
insurance. Well,
health insurance.
nowadays
Yes.
it feels like you must, or you're not going to get any care because you can't afford it, right?
Right.
Um, but anyway, that's a whole nother show.
It is,
But
but it's a thing. I agree with you. You know, it's so hard because you want to be a part of everything. You know, you're like, yeah, you know, I want to go out and I want to be a part of society. I want to do this thing, and then you go and you do your own thing, and you're like, well, this is great. You know, I love it. Um, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
uh-huh.
I just turned 59. At 59,
Yes.
I'm supposed to have an idea of what I want to be when I grow up. If you have an idea that'll help me out with that, I'm open to another conversation. But
Well, I'm
um
59 and I haven't figured it out yet either. I have a short-term plan for the next 5, 10 years, and I know kind of what I want to do. But we also know what happens with plans, because a year
a
ago
year ago,
I planned to be on the road, and the calendar
oral,
completely fell apart, and I just retooled. I pivoted. I said, how else can I know I still want to make music? I mean, I made the list,
yeah,
right? I made the list and went, what brings me joy? I want to write music. I want to play music. I want to share my music with the world. This was my focus. So, how can I do that if I can't travel right now? How can I do that? Oh, well, I could, and all the yes buts that came in, because
mm-hmm,
I get the yes buts really
yes,
bad. It's, well, I could go into the studio and record this next CD that I've been thinking about. Yes, but you don't have the money to do that. Well, now wait a minute. And
the
the
yes buts.
yes
I love the yes buts. That's
the
awesome.
yes buts are there, but I don't treat them as the enemy anymore. I used to get angry when the yes buts rose up and like fight against them. And I realized, no, they're bringing in some valid points, so let's find another workaround. And so
Well,
now the yes
I
buts
think the
aren't
yes
a
buts
problem.
should have a chair in the side of the room. I think they should have a chair.
They just shouldn't have the final say.
I think they should have a chair. I don't think that they should be allowed to, drink too much, because then they get a little out of control. Um, and perhaps we should have them on like a coffee tea diet, and listen to them and allow them. A big thing is allowing yourself to hear them and not judge them, and not let them judge you. And so it's sort of like when you make friends with them, like I think you're saying, you found
Yeah.
last year that you could make friends with them and talk with them nicely. If they're going to hold my hand and sing kumbaya and work with me, they're welcome to stay. If they're going to tell me what I'm wrong about and what I'm not going to do, they're going to have to hit the high road and go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, that has to become a part of our process. And that's that judging yourself and society judging you. You know what? I went into an interview 2019. I went
Mm-hmm.
into an interview and I decided I was interviewing for this accountancy firm. And I thought, well, people are going to know who I am eventually. My daughter, so, my big thing is Google my name. Here, let's just get this over with at the get go.
Right.
Google my name and then we'll have a conversation. So I go into this very nice, very proper accounting firm. I wore my favorite tie-dye skirt and a very, very nice office blouse. And I went in and they said, "Oh, you have all this." And the interview's going quite well. And I said, "Well, I do need to tell you that I'm an author and a sound bath facilitator. And so quite often during the year, I'll be needing to take Thursdays, Fridays, some Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays off. You can kind of not count on me for the entire month of October." And they went, "What?" And I said, "Well, I believe that," and it's become this joke for me. I believe in total transparency. I'm going to ask you as we interview, please go Google my name. And they were like, "Why would we Google your name?" And I said, "Well, frankly, if you're interviewing people and you're not Googling them, you're making a huge mistake in your human resources department." So needless to say, they came back to me and went, "You're a very interesting person, but I don't think you're a good fit." And I said, "Okay." And they were like, "But we're going to check out your stuff. And we just looked you up on Spotify." And I was like, that works for me.
Yeah.
But I feel like because of what we do, specifically things like you and I, what we do, how we do it, the way, the presentations, the places, all the places we go.
Yeah.
And that transparency has to be there and people have to know us. And so those yes buts have a place. They have a place at the table, they have a place at the bar, but they have to understand that, yes, but this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this is who I am. And maybe it takes getting to be this 59-year-old semi-hippie woman in crazy tie-dye playing singing bowls in the middle of a parking lot to go, you know what? I'm going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to create. And if you don't like it, then you go back to your corporate world and enjoy your cubicle.
Indeed. And I remember being happy in that corporate job for a number of years
As was
because
I.
because I made a conscious choice. I literally woke up most every day for at least the first half of that my tenure back in corporate. I woke up every day and said, "I'm choosing this because it's the best thing for my family and I love them and this is what I choose to do right now." And I was also still singing on the weekends and doing all the other things that I do. But yeah, it's yeah,
Because
that's all.
I mean,
Just yeah.
honestly, I became this person much later in life. I was not an author when I was young. I didn't write. In 2013, I think it was, I was working for someone doing mostly out of my homework, trying to do accounting work for people. I had this little job here and this little job here. And I sent in something to, I can't remember the magazine's over here somewhere, but I sent in this article to a magazine and they published it. First time ever.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, maybe this is something I could do. Huh. I started working with someone and writing blog articles for, no, just for the notoriety, just to get my name out there, just to get my ideas out there.
Right.
And I ended up sending a lot to this group and having them go, "Oh, your stuff is always so awesome." It was never rejected. I went, huh, okay, so I do have something to say. I know how to say it and people like it. I'll put it together and write a book. And that's that, if that's a creative process, then I guess it is.
It is. It is.
if that's a process, but I think everything we talked about is the process that gets you to that process where you go, huh, I can do that. You know,
Yeah.
when you walk
Yeah.
around an art show, and I know everyone has the experience, when you walk around an art show, you look at stuff and you go, I could do that. Well, do it. Go on and try it. Come on,
That
let's
is
go home and
totally,
try it.
and that I think is what separates the actual creators from a lot of folks, is that we don't just say I can do that. We
I can
actually go home and do it.
and do it
And
and try it.
that's
Just
the hard
look on.
part. That's the hard part, because it's like, if you're writing, the writing is the hardest part, right? The if I'm creating a song, it's actually getting the words down and fine tuning. This is the hard part right here. I can say I'm a musician all day long, but if I'm not making music and I'm not playing, am I really a musician?
Right?
I can say I'm an author, but the last book I wrote was in 2007. Am I really an author? Right? I mean, I've put out one published book. I I was an author. I'm not still actually doing that anymore. It's so I kind of look at it like the creative process is open to anybody and everybody. I think the difference is that we cross that line into manifestation.
Right.
We take something that's from somewhere here, somewhere in the ether or somewhere inside of us, and we like pull it through and go, look what I just
Look
did.
what I did. Look what I did. I did it. I really
And
did it.
yeah, and it's true. Somebody else can walk by and go, well, I can do that.
Yeah, do
Awesome.
it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
And I say that
And
to
that's
people.
not an arrogant, well then do it. It's a,
It's a come on and
please
do
do
it.
it.
Please,
Yeah. It's an
please.
invitation.
You know, people go, oh well, I have, because I've had this conversation with young people at festivals. They're like, oh well, I have this book and I wrote it, but and I said, so do you like it? Publish it. Well, you have to get an agent. I said, I don't have an agent. Well, you have to have a publishing house. I don't have a publishing house, but you have all those books. Yeah, it's called self publishing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put out what I have to say. I want it to be on Amazon. Okay, that's
Right.
where it is. Use Create. It used to be Create Space. Now it's Amazon, Creative Publishing, Kindle Direct, whatever it is this year.
Right.
Do it. And I've actually had some people come back to me and go, that was the best idea. Thank you for telling me to do that. And I'm like, did you put your book out? Yes, I'm in the process of it right now. Did you find a friend who's got good grammar and stuff like that? All that punctuation stuff. That's real important. But the process, just do it.
Right.
And I love telling people, if you believe in it, do it. Just try it. Don't even try it, because if you try it, you're never going to pick it up. That's not one of my favorite words. It's a
Right.
word we get rid of. Just go for it.
Yeah.
If so it's out there. So you make $10 on it the first year.
Or so you suck at it at first,
At
because
first,
you've got to be willing to suck. You've
you
got to
gotta
be
be,
willing to really be bad at it before you can learn to be good at it.
I mean, we were talking about judgment. You know what? The harshest critic is the fact that you go, wow, well, I put that out there and nobody was interested. Okay, well, are are you doing it because you want someone else's opinion of you? Or are you doing it because that's who you are?
Right.
Be that authentic, genuine you. Just do it. Pick up the instrument, pick up the pen, pick up the sewing needles, whatever,
Right. Right.
and just make it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm hoping that what people are finding, especially over the last year and into this year as we go forward, is that, hey, I don't have to do this for 1,000 other people. I have to do it for me.
Yes.
And when I do it for me, I find that there might be 1,000 other people might just like it, or who might support me, or, you know, it connects me. So when I do it just for me, I'm never disappointed.
Truth. Oh my gosh, Dru Ann, you know what? We've been talking for an hour. This is so crazy. I love you so much, and I miss your face, but I get to see
I
your face today. So thank you
I
for
know.
this.
We should Zoom
Listen,
all the time.
I know. So listen, do you have a website, someplace that people can reach you and find all of your wonderful stuff?
They can learn a lot about me and
Okay,
reach a lot of things on my website, which is druannwelch.com. Very simple, the name.
awesome.
Um, if you go to Bandcamp and
Uh
you
huh.
search for Dru Ann Welch on Bandcamp, you will find my creative music musings, basically, in the form of tracks you can download. I've got a wonderful track I've just put up there, which is the Song of the Spine. And I
Nice.
found the notes that the musical notes and frequencies that are attuned to the 24 vertebrae of the spine.
Lovely.
And I made it a track and I added like a long tank drum behind it. So it sounds like this very strange thing. And in 2 minutes or less, it actually makes your back feel better. So Dru Ann Welch on Bandcamp.
Excellent.
And
You
and if
are
you can
amazing.
also find me on Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is so awesome.
This,
Dru Ann, you
uh,
are spectacular.
uh,
Thank you for chatting with me. This is yeah, life is
this
a creative process.
thank you
Wake
so much for
wake
having
up,
me.
folks.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is lovely. I missed you. I will do this. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. We'll talk later.
Bye.